How's it going, guys? It's Eclipse here, and today's video we're going to be giving you 5 tips to get better on World of Tanks console. This will be applicable for both World of Tanks console and PC, so it's not just the console variant. Both of them will apply for whatever game you play, whether that be console, blitz, PC, whatever variant of World of Tanks. They all have the same systems as for these tips that I'm going to be giving. So we'll start with number 1, and that is Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense is a perk that you definitely need on every single crew that you have. It should be the first perk you go towards. I don't care if you want to be focusing on anything else. It is the most essential. It is the most vital. It gives you the most information for you to be able to use for your advantage. And it also reduces the amount of times you're going to be caught with your trousers down, and you're going to be able to renegotiate the whole situation in which you are in, or just completely block that entire situation where you get caught out in the open, you've come around a corner, you didn't realise you were spotted, you've been hit for 1,000 alpha, and you've lost 1,000 hit points. So how does Sixth Sense work? It basically is a perk that dings on. It brings up with a little light bulb that enables you to know that someone has spotted you. You're visible on the enemy's maps, and you'll be seen. The detected that is usually in the game previous to Sixth Sense, so that you get that as standard whether you have Sixth Sense or not, is only a measure of when you are actually being targeted. So if someone is looking directly at you, that's when it pings. So it is regardless of whether you're spotted or not. You could be spotted but no one's looking at you, therefore there's no targeted. So it's really essential that you get Sixth Sense. It means that when you poke around a corner, you might get spotted, you realise there's someone obviously that spotted you round that corner, and it's the only because you've gone around that corner that you're going to be able to get spotted. Therefore you should pull back because there's someone already looking at you. Whereas if you didn't have it, you would have pulled around the corner, probably taken a hit, at least one. You didn't know that they were there, you're going to get hit, they're probably going to pull back around the corner before you even get a chance to shoot them, and therefore you've lost a load of health. Whereas Sixth Sense allows you to not engage in that situation, retreat, use your advantage of knowing that someone is there, and then working out who it is, what it is, and which way you can get around that situation in game. So it's a really, really key perk that you need. Basically, if you ever get spotted, the first thing you should be thinking, if you haven't come up with a plan already, or you aren't intent on going after someone that you know that you'll get spotted, is you should pull back, because that way you definitely don't take any damage. If you weren't spotted where you were previously, you should be pulling back. So it's really important that you think about that, and also use it in game for every single one of your crews. It is the most vital perk. Don't go for anything else first. Literally get this one, and if you haven't already, then definitely replace any of the perks that you've got right now with Sixth Sense, or work towards getting it as the next perk that you have. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about in this video as a tip is angling. Now, angling I've done a video on, kind of just showed you on tanks.gg, which is an armor viewer website, and it allows you to see the effective armor of tanks, and how if you slightly turn your tank's hull to one side, it increases the armor of the tank depending on what you're in. So if you want to check that out, then it's definitely going to be linked at the end of this video, as well as in the description, and it should be on screen right now. So if you want to check that out at the end of this one, then you can do on screen. Now, what is angling? In essence, it's basically a way of increasing the likelihood of you bouncing around. Now, say if you're in a King Tiger, you've got a Jaeger in front of you, no matter how you angle, it will go straight through the upper plate. But what is important is that if you're up against someone at the same tier as you, if you're up against people the tier below and 2 tiers below, for most people, they're not going to be able to pen you if you angle in the correct way. So if I side scrape off of a building, which is where I put a building in front of my hull and they can only see the side of my tank at a really, really steep angle, it's going to be very difficult for them to pen, especially if I'm in a heavy tank or a really armoured medium. It doesn't work in light tanks. You should never really be side scraping or angling in a light tank. or any glass cannon TDs that don't have any armor. It's only an armor based tip. So remember, if you want to check that out, you can go to the video that will be linked in the description or at the end of this video. Number 3, we're talking about premium consumables. These are consumables in the game which you pay either gold for, or you pay silver, a lot more than your standard consumable. So these are the enhanced rations, enhanced repair kit, enhanced med kit, or whatever the equivalent is on the version of World of Tanks that you're playing. What these do is they give you extra bonuses. You'll be looking at getting things like a instant repair to all modules for an enhanced repair kit, but then it also is reusable. So reusable consumables are really key in World of Tanks console, just because what you can do with them is be able to put yourself into a situation where you're brawling up close with people, where the likelihood of you getting tracked in a position that you're not liking to your advantage is going to be a lot higher. You're going to be able to repair, but then that isn't it you for the game. You know, in a minute's time you'll be able to use another repair kit. So it comes into effect when, say, if you got tracked, you repair your track and then you get ammo racked straight away after you've used your repair kit. That means in a minute's time you won't be ammo racked for the rest of the game. It'll only be that 1 minute. So that's where a reusable consumable in the form of premium consumables comes in really effective. Now it's the same for rations. So rations will give you a 15% crew performance on console, and it will also give you a passive boost of 10% commander XP and 10% crew performance. So you'll basically buff all of the attributes of your tank by like 10%. Now that's really, really crucial in terms of your view range, in terms of your concealment. It increases your reload. It's really, really important. Now, at the cost of the rations, you're going to have to trade out either a fire extinguisher or your med kit. Usually I switch out the fire extinguisher because generally I don't tend to get hit that much if I'm playing correctly, and I would rather have the chance of getting set on fire and losing, 25% in my hit points in that shot than, having that whole game for every single game that I play being 10% better, basically. Now, in terms of which premium consumables you should be focusing on, it is definitely the enhanced repair kit, and also the enhanced rations or food or whatever you want to call it. And that is basically the two ones that I will go with every single game. On console, this will cost you 20,000 silver every single game, no matter whether you use them or not. On PC, obviously, they cost you, I think, 20,000 for each one. Not entirely sure, or 15,000 even per game, or every time you use them. So it's important that you know the costs of them, and also that you're willing to spend that in order to gain the advantage. This is in order to gain an advantage. If you're in it to make silver, then it might not be the best option for you. And of course, in my personal opinion, I will only use the repair kit, the small med kit, so not the reusable one, and then also the rations as a standard on all of my tanks, unless of course I want to have the fuel boost on some tanks that are just that slow and they don't get up to top speed very fast. At number 4, we have deciding where to go dependent on your team's location at the start of the game and how they deploy and team deployment. So this is in terms of a theoretical kind of idea. It's not a tip that you can just suddenly put on your tank and you're going to be better. It's one of those that you kind of learn over the game, but it is important to think about it at the start of the game. Don't go to the same spot every single game, no matter what tank you're in. It doesn't always work. So, looking at Prokhorovka, you're not going to be scouting the mid-ridge in a E100, are you? You want to be looking at the best places for your E100. You're going to be going into that spot. And then, if your team decide that they're not going to go at all in one direction on the map, so say if you were going up the hill on Prokhorovka, for example, you're not going to go up there alone if the whole of your team is on the other side of the map. Because what happens then is obviously you get singled out. There's going to be like 4 or 5 on average tanks coming up against you, if not more, of the enemy team, which means, no matter how good you are of a player, you're more than likely going to get taken out very, very quickly, and it's not going to be worth it for you. So in order to improve yourself and improve your win rate, you want to be thinking about where others are going, where other people can support you. And if you have to get yourself destroyed, then make sure that you get destroyed, or put yourself in a position where your teammates have an advantage over the people that are going to be pushing you. So often I will move myself into a position to make sure that my teammates can get shots. Even if they don't hit, at least the enemies will be taking more hits than if I just was cornered up against buildings and no one else could shoot them at all. It's really key for you to do that. And that's kind of one thing I wanted to touch on. Hopefully you kind of understand where I'm coming at. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're coming up 1 versus 6, because 9 times out of 10, in fact 99 times out of 100, you will probably get yourself your ass handed to you. So make sure you don't do that, and also think about where your teammates are and what type of tank those teammates are as well, because that helps. If you're in a medium tank, you want to be spotting for your TDs, which is going to be really beneficial. You're going to get more spotting damage than if, say, you were spotting for other medium tanks. At number 5, the final tip for this video, we have premium ammo and also aiming. So I wanted to talk about penetration values and how you can use them effectively, what you should be doing with your premium rounds, when you should use them, when you shouldn't use them, how you can use your ammunition effectively, and kind of talk about that. So the first thing is, obviously, premium rounds generally are better than standard rounds. That's why they're premium. They come at a cost though. So, you get premium benefits, but you also get a premium cost. So if you're going out there to get silver, you probably don't want to be spamming so much premium that you end up losing so much money. So it's really key in order to have good games and make silver. You have to find that balance between firing premium rounds when you need to and firing standard rounds when you need to. So it's kind of a bit of a balance. I mean, some players will fire only premium because they've got to the stage in the game where silver doesn't really mean very much to them. They've already grinded all of the tanks that they need, and so getting silver doesn't matter. For the majority of players, however, that isn't the case, and you're going to have to be looking at kind of trading off. What I find a lot of people do is fire just exclusive premium, even if they're not particularly the best player in the game. You don't need to do that. What you should be focusing on is other aspects of penetration. So you should be looking at actually stop auto-aiming people, because that's not how 90% of my shots aren't auto-aimed. It's on those very rare occasions where I'll auto-aim someone because it's just not worth it. You can do that using RB in game. It's useful for if you're in a light tank and you're on the move and you're trying to out-traverse someone. It's useful if you want to get just auto-aim at the beginning and then free aim it straight away after, just so that you have a lock-on at the centre of their mass, so you can then move to where you want to be aiming at. And what you want to be doing is actually using your proper aim, holding LT in or L2 on PlayStation, and then tracking where the opponents are going to be. You want to be aiming at the weakest points, which will be highlighted in red on the screen. Now that's not always the case, because sometimes spaced armor counts as a red zone, so you want to be learning the weak spots as well. Now, weak spots can be learnt throughout various different things. If you go on the armor viewer in-game, and also tanks.gg on the internet will tell you what you need to be doing for that, and where the weakest points on the tank are, because that is they'll be coloured green or yellow or red depending on where the areas are that you can penetrate easiest. Now, in terms of other things you can do in order to increase the chances of you penetrating enemies, is to look and aim in front of tanks. So if they're moving at speed, you want to not be aiming where their tank is right now, you want to be aiming in front of them. Obviously it sounds very simple, you should have thought about that before, and I mean, for a lot of you that is probably the case, but for some of you, you might not understand that the shell velocity of your round may lead to, if you're aiming at the centre of mass at a tank that is moving, but by the time your round hits the spot where you were aiming, the tank has already moved past and you're not going to hit. So what you need to be doing is, instead of auto-aiming on the move, you want to be aiming in front of them using your free aim. You can do that by either just moving your right thumbstick and aiming like that in terms of looking in front of them, or you can actually aim fully in on your tank and therefore use your actual aim reticle in game. So it's really key to do that, because a lot of the time I find people just auto aim and therefore they don't get the penetration, they don't get the benefit of penetrating in terms of silver damage and all the things associated with that in terms of tracking damage, etc. So it's really key that you do that, and also you'll learn that as the game goes on. You'll learn what sort of ranges you need to be leading in front, and that will come to you. Now that's it for today's tips videos for World of Tanks. Obviously there are plenty of other tips that I could give you, but it's really hard to go in and give you some really in-depth tips unless I'm actually playing and I'm showing you, which I will do eventually. I've got a series coming out soon called Live and Learn, so we're going to be going through and having a look at some gameplay live with you and telling you and talking you through how you can think in game and therefore, you know, potentially model your gameplay out of some games I have. They won't always be the best games. You'll probably see me derp a few, well, because that happens all the time, but hopefully it will give you an idea as to the positions that you want to be going on maps, and also give you an idea as to what you should be aiming at, where the weak points are generally, and just give you a bit of an insight into my gameplay style and how I've managed to get 61% wins overall as a player on this game in 20,000 battles. Other than that, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you want to check out that angling guide, it should be on screen right now, as well as another video that was my most recent. So if you want to check those out, then you can do so on screen. Other than that, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day and a good rest of your year, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.